for it, yeah. We're here for it, yeah. We're here for it, yeah. We're here for it, yeah.
Hey, Blanca.
Hello. So nice to be here with you.
It's so great to have you here. Honestly, we are huge long-term fans, okay? We have not just jumped on the bandwagon, we've been here for the year.
I like to hear it.
You look great as well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. I live in Florida. So we're having a great day. The sun is out. I love the sun. I love to be outside. So that always brings joy to my heart.
I love that. And yeah, the sun, I'm always jealous of the sun in Florida. Like, I always hear about the weather being amazing. Live in the UK, it's not always amazing. So it's great to see it shining on your face today.
Oh, trust. It gets pretty hot and humid over here. So don't let it fool you. The sun is great, but it can be intense.
Oh, I can imagine. And you're like originally from New York, so I can imagine the like difference in climate is
Yeah. Okay. So the truth is, I was born in New York, but I moved when I was like 2 years old. So
uh,
I'm a Floridian at heart. Like I've lived here since I was a baby, and this is all I've known. And then my parents are from Puerto Rico. They were from Puerto Rico, and so uh, I have that tropical. Florida's like that tropical island vibe, just
it
connected to the
feels like
states.
home. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Oh, I love that. So could you please introduce yourself to the audience listening and watching? Who are you?
Yes, my name is Blanca, and I do Christian pop R&B music. You can find some of my latest songs that have come out, like "Worthy" and "Are You Ready?" But I just love to serve the Lord through this gift that He's given me, and hopefully, I could share a little bit more about my story through this time together.
I love that you name drop some of the songs because we're gonna jump into the music. We have to break down some of the singles, the albums, all the things. And I did ask you to introduce yourself to the people listening and watching, just because like there might be some newbies here, but like I said, us at SheHH, we've been fans, we've been long-term fans. We know you've been on the Christian music scene for over 20 years. Some of us
Crazy.
crazy. I remember being a child and you were in Group One Crew. Hello.
Oh my gosh. That always blows my mind. Like I'll go to a show and have a full grown adult in front of me and they'll be like, "Yeah, when I was 5 years old, I used to listen to your music." I'm like, this is pretty wild.
You must look at them like, no, that doesn't the maths isn't
It's
math.
impossible. The math is not mathing.
I love it. But yeah, so all the way from then, all the way to 2025 at the time of recording this, successful solo career, amazing group career, and you actually are not slowing down at all. Please share some snippets, maybe from the beginning till now, of how your music career has come along.
Of course. I'll start from the very beginning. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. My parents divorced when I was about 6 years old. And it was my father who um, had a substance abuse issue, which was one of the biggest reasons why my family decided to split. He was the one that had this beautiful God encounter and changed his life around and came back into our lives, asked for forgiveness, started taking us to church. And so this was kind of like my first experience as a Latina. Granted, you pray, you believe in God, you know about him, but through that experience with my father is when I first had like a true kind of relationship with Jesus. And it was so precious because it was one of my biggest it was like a redemptive story. Like it was my biggest hole, like not having my father around, but then to see how God used that very thing to bring me to him was so restorative. And it was at that moment I was 17 years old. I knew like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is why I have this voice or this gift. Like I want to give it back to him. And so I started going to a local church here in Florida. I met the guys from Group One Crew, which at that time was just a Bible study where we would get together every Sunday after church and work on music together, get in the word together. And next thing you know, three of us from that group of friends got signed to a record deal with recording kind of group in Nashville, Tennessee, a label. And so this was in 2006. Okay, long time ago. But that's when I started with Group One Crew, started doing music with them, and was with them for a significant amount of years. I think over 7 years or so we were together as a group. Then I had my first baby, my one and only son. Went through that whole transition of becoming a mom, and so I took some time off. And when I decided to come back, I was like, I think this is my time to do my solo thing and see what's out there. So it's definitely been such a journey for me coming from a group where you feel so protected and safe within, like, not having to do it alone, to then really being stretched by the Lord to find my voice, to find what it is that I was supposed to sing about. Like, even in hearing some of the songs that I did when I first came out as a solo artist, it's like the evolution of who I was then to where I'm at now. I feel like I'm really starting to feel comfortable with who I am as an artist and in the sound that I have. So that's the a bit of the trajectory and the story behind Blanca. But it's like you said, we're just getting started. This hopefully, that I can continue to keep doing this and finding ways to use my music to encourage others.
Wow, God is so good. Like, even just telling your story of how many years in like 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, it's just so evident that God was so intentional with your life, and you were also very intentional with giving it back to him. And I just really want to commend you for your obedience. And like I said, 2 decades in the industry, you're still praising God. You don't look like you're slowing down. I have to ask you about how you look at longevity. How do you look at staying in the game and actually keeping on going?
Man, I think the biggest thing in all areas of my life, right? Because I've gone through a lot of loss, I've gone through a lot of challenges, um, shifts in just life itself, from walking through a divorce and just all these things that are so hard to the fundamentals of like who you are and your worth, right? But through it all, what I've experienced is that you have to be flexible with God. You can't hold on to things too tightly. You can't want too much control, but you have to really know how to navigate seasons with flexibility, willingness to change, and be open to stepping outside your comfort zone. And I think honestly, that's been one of the main reasons why I feel like there has been longevity with my career, because there's been kind of this freedom to evolve and to grow and to try even if I fail and learn new sounds. And so I think that's been the process for me. And there's been moments that feel really great, there's been other moments that have been, a little bit more difficult, but being able to kind of move with the ebbs and flows of life has been what sustained me through it.
That is so beautiful to hear, especially as a woman, because I think you have the different phases of life, motherhood being a huge change to your time, your energy, your money, like everything about you, and giving yourself.
Even getting married. I mean, you were talking about, just getting married and moving outside of your city. And like, you have to, like, it's hard, to go through those changes. Sometimes they're very difficult when there's one way that you're used to seeing life and then it all shifts and change. But they're all, man, I love when I think about all of it. I'm like, nothing's in vain, nothing is wasted. With God, He uses it all. There's always purpose to these things that we encounter and we go through. So that's the beauty of it.
That is so true. And I'm always reminded of that phrase, like, nothing is wasted. And that includes your high moments, but also your really low moments. Like, God does not waste anything. Your life is not random. And I think even like enjoying your music, especially, we'll talk about the album, The Heartbreak and the Healing later, but especially that album, I feel like you actually get to experience like those peaks and troughs of your life. And that's a
Oh,
real
I love
privilege as
that.
a that's a real privilege as a fan, because you really didn't have to say anything. You could have just, disappeared and like lived your life, maybe done something and a normal job or whatever. But it shows that God could trust you with this ministry, that, even in the heart, it doesn't crumble. And I just want to, yeah, like I said, commend you on that. But also, I draw encouragement from that, and I think listeners and viewers will as well, because it's not just words. Like, they see a long career, you know, so you've
Mm.
been able to keep standing, and that shows us that we can keep standing too, you know. Yeah.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I feel like there's an oldie but goodie. I have a song called Shattered, and I wrote it after losing my mom to cancer. But I always, there's a phrase in that song that always with me, and I say, if I am still here standing, then you can believe it when I say, like, if you're shattered, every piece that's on the floor, he will restore. But it's like, that's what it's about. It's like your life becomes a testament to how, in even the hardest times, like, God comes through and he's faithful. So that means a lot that you would highlight that, because that's been kind of my heart, is like, a lot of the times it's hard for me to express myself through talking things out or dealing with just confrontation or hard conversations. But through music, I feel like it's an outlet for me to be able to express some of the feelings that I have, in hopes that it can bring hope to people that may be in the same situation that I am. So the fact that you highlighted it makes me feel like, thank you, God. That's so sweet that you would see that that was kind of like the motive behind my songs.
I think it's evident for sure. And even you saying music is an outlet for that. You've actually started a relatively new outlet for being able to share what's on your heart. Can you speak about your podcast, Taste of Grace
I need
podcast?
tips, girl. I need tips.
Okay, I'm happy to exchange, you know, a little exchange of skills here. But no, I think it's such a beautiful podcast. You run it with your friend Dorka Jones, and both of you are just so beautiful. First of all, production value, yeah,
Hey.
amazing. And just even the substance of what God has put in you guys that you share back with the world. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Please tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, this is, again, these are the moments like that I feel so stretched, because people think, oh, she does music, she sings. Doing a podcast seems like the next, like, it's connected in some way. But when it comes to speaking and like not having to hide behind my voice and music to some extent, it's very scary and super outside of my comfort. But I felt like that was my word for this season. One, surrendering kind of like my own expectations. And I feel like God's like, you can make it good later. Like, just do it. Just have the faith to try the things that I'm placing on your heart. And then with time, like, once you start them together, we can make them great. And so that's kind of what this podcast was. It was like a little vision that I had. I wanted to create a safe space for women where we can connect, specifically even from like a Latina perspective. That's not something that I get to see a lot. Of like second generation or third generation Latinas that maybe aren't living in a Latin country, but live kind of in this westernized culture, and are trying to navigate things with like family and trauma and things that we've experienced. So um that was how it all came about. And then the taste of grace part, the taste part is like, I feel like the best conversations happen around food, they happen around the table. So including some form of eating into these moments, even if it's like a little cafecito, we have some coffee and we get to talk. I feel like it just helps people feel like they can put their guard down and they're like at home. So that's basically the premise of it. And we just launched, we just started this month. Um, but it's been beautiful to see already the response from people really connecting to the episodes.
Oh, 100%. It's so beautiful to watch, especially like you touched on the Latina perspective as well. I think there is something about seeing two Latina women, Christians that are in this industry, because also Dorca's a makeup artist, that are in an industry that we watch on TV and see as very glitz and glam. But you guys are like super vulnerable and super real and super normal. It's like, those are my homegirls, and I'm like sitting in the middle,
It's
like,
done. We're
which,
already friends.
you know, I love it. I think it's so beautiful and fun. And I think we need more like Christians that are fun, you know?
Yeah, exactly. We need to be fully who we are and show people that they can be accepted and seen, um, with their quirks and the things that make them unique. I think it's important.
Oh, I love it. And who are some of your guests that you have? Also, okay, maybe not spoil the guests, but who are some guests that you would love
Okay.
to have, like dream guests you'd love to have?
Okay. Well, I'll share some of the guests that we've had on. We just wrapped up season one, and we've teased already a few of these guests, but we've had Christine de Clario was our first guest, and she's like a huge worship leader in the Latin community. And she's the reason why I met Durka. So we met on set of a music video. So she felt like she had to be a part of the podcast because she's the whole reason why it probably exists. And then we've had our therapist as another guest on the podcast. Her name is Constance. And one of the guests that I really wanted on the podcast, her name is Angela Johnson. She's a comedian, a Mexican comedian, but a lot of people know her as her, the nail salon skit or her character as One Quickly. And so we just wrapped the podcast with her. But some dream collabs would be I'm trying to get Jacqueline, my girl. She's such a powerful, like, I feel like you've interviewed her
We
already.
have,
Yeah.
yeah.
But she just blows my mind. Like she has the wisdom of like a 6-year-old woman, yet she's like in her 20s, which is wild. So I would love to have her on the podcast. We're trying to get Anike on the podcast as well. Really just highlighting women of color as well on the pod. But I love Emmy Moore. She's from the Save Not Soft podcast. I'm hoping that maybe down the line we could do something with her. Mariah Peters, which I don't know if you've heard of her King and Country. Yeah. Okay. Well, Joel's wife, she's now doing like Spanish country music, which is crazy. I'm like, I need to hear more about what's going on there. So there's a lot of people that, I mean, the list goes on and on. Dr. Anita Phillips. Who else are some that I've like written my dream list of people that I would eventually want to get on the podcast.
And you have the time, it's fine. Like we're in for the long run. So
Yeah.
oh, I love it. And I mean, like you said, it is near the beginning of being released because obviously you filmed season one. And I actually recently, when I was planning these interview questions, saw a clip that literally filled my eyes with tears. Like I was like, Paula, don't cry. Because it was just so beautiful. Like I talk about both of you being really vulnerable, but this was the moment I think that got me. So you were basically talking about and like sharing the gratitude you have for Dorka and your friendship and how like during a hard time that friendship was part of the healing that God did in your heart. And it just reminded me of like the community of sisters that we have here at SheHH Podcast, like the women that encourage us and the women we encourage. Like sometimes we get emails and they'll just be like, thank you for doing what you do. And I'm like, that means a lot.
It means everything. I know
It
it
means
does.
everything. And so in that beauty of friendship and sisterhood, please do share what that has been like for you.
Man, I feel like in this season, God has surrounded me with some incredible women. And I shared that on the podcast. Like when you walk through something like a divorce, and, you know, I got married when I was in my early 20s. I was probably like 22 years old, married for almost 10 years. Like community and like your whole world gets wrapped around being a wife and being present for your family. So losing that is not only the loss of your spouse that you kind of had this idea of what life would look like, but also friendship and like having to start over in many ways. So that was super difficult for me. There was a lot of shame of like just feeling like, how can I be a Christian woman who's going through some of these things and then having to share that story with people I meet? It felt like an insecurity. But I feel like with these different relationships that God has like blessed me with in my life, little by little they begin to peel those layers back and like get to the heart of who I am. And I felt so loved and so seen. And that's been kind of this journey of sisterhood, like you're talking about, is like I really see the benefit and the need for that type of community because it will sustain you through some of those really hard times.
Oh, that is so beautiful and 100% the experience that myself, SheHH has had, because you hear all the time on socials that women don't get along and women are out to get each other and all this stuff. But I've
So
only ever
true.
seen women lift other women up. Obviously, there's situations, yes, but women often lift each other up. They're often there when you're like crying, to pass you the tissue and to cry with you. They're there when you're laughing, when you're happy and celebrating. They're there when you need to text someone that something amazing has just happened. Like, I think there's so much encouragement in sisterhood, and God has really done a great work, especially in the Christian music space, with other
Mm,
women encouraging other women, especially in a space that seems to always lift up men, knowing that like I'll do these interviews and they will call other women who have been great in their lives, who are other artists. And I'm just like, in what other industry do
yes.
you have women saying, hey, go listen to Blanca, go listen to me, listen to Blanca, you know?
It's
So
so good and it's so true. I think it's a movement. Like we're changing that narrative that there's only room for one of us. Like I think for a long time, because it's a male driven industry, it was like, okay, like I have to fight for my spot. I gotta fight to be seen because there can't be two of us in that same space. There's not enough of it to go around. So we've changed that narrative and really with all of these, like Jacqueline, Anike, like all of these friends that I've made, even in the industry, I'm like, we're rooting each other on, we're cheerleading one another, we're creating spaces for one another. And that's truly so beautiful to see.
yeah, and even like you being the bridge between how, I don't know how to describe it, but like almost English music and Spanish music, but like the Christian music that transcends language, let's say. And even here in the UK, like we talked a little bit about the UK. I know you've been on Latin Selection, which is a show on Premier Gospel, actually run by a
Yeah.
friend of mine, Hannah. And you just seeing like the surge of like people loving Spanish Latin-based music, even if they don't fully understand the language, they know there's something Jesus in this music. And I feel like you're that bridge, because you have a lot of English music. We have a lot of Spanish music as well. And I don't think people know how like how deep people like you go hard in the community. Like people know you.
Paula, you're awesome.
Thank you.
Oh my
I
gosh.
try.
That
So I guess my question there is like, how is it navigating that? Like, are you deliberately trying to take up space in those two industries, or is it just you being yourself as a Puerto Rican American woman?
So I think the biggest transition started in losing my parents. So I've lost both of my parents to cancer, and they were huge into the Puerto Rican culture. My dad barely spoke English, lived in Puerto Rico his whole life. Um, and so in losing them, I felt this need to really connect to my roots and my family and my island. Like, so I started exploring creating music in Spanish, being more intentional with that. I've done translations throughout, my music in the past, where I'll take a song and put it in Spanish, but this felt so much more intentional. And the motive behind it was really like how I don't have a reference on how to be a American Latina artist and really like create a bridge to the Latin space. So it felt like a bit of a responsibility, to create that for girls to come. And so from that, just exploring, creating, I did an EP called Renovada, which was 5 songs in 2020, where I was, singing songs that originated in the Spanish language, to then getting, a feature with Yandel, which is like a pioneer and a legend in the Spanish community. And I was his first song to God, like he's a mainstream artist. And so there's just been what I call just like this affirmation and kind of like nod from the Lord of like, this is where you're supposed to be, and this is what I want you to do in this community. But it has been at times difficult to navigate because primarily my career has been in the CCM, kind of like this contemporary Christian space. And mixing the Latin stuff can be a little confusing to that listener, or even some like uh what do you call it, agents, like for booking agents and for like people in the industry. They're like, so are you a Latin artist? Or are you? I'm like, I'm a bit of both. I do, gospel. I can do R&B. We do pop. We do Spanish. But it's sometimes hard to navigate when they're used to seeing it just one way. So It's been now what I would consider kind of like my goal through my music and through my artistry is to create this space for Latina women specifically, but women in general to feel like they can flow in what their culture is and American music and do all of it. Like there shouldn't be restrictions.
Oh, 100%. And I think I've started to notice more women doing that. So even like as you were speaking, coming to mind was people like Chris and
Hmm.
even like Adrian Ballon Houghton doing it with Israel Houghton, and just like people that I remember in the like 90s and 2000s, there was Spanish Christian music, which was, amazing, but completely in Spanish and made by Latin artists. And then now we have Latin American artists who do English and Spanish. And so if you're in for the ride, you're in for the ride, And I'm like,
Yes, exactly.
that's it. That's like exactly what we need, because it shows us that, you know, Jesus is not just in English, essentially.
Well said. Well said.
100%. But yeah, I was gonna go on to a final question about the podcast. And you touched on a little bit about this earlier. So you've been a singer for so long, we've known you as a singer for so long. You now finally decide, okay, I'm gonna share the stories I've been telling in music in words on camera. Was that a vulnerable experience for you? And how did you like feel confident and ready to be, an anchor on screen essentially by doing this podcast?
Man, that's a great question. I feel like initially there was kind of like this vulnerability and this fear of like, how am I going to navigate this? This isn't my strength per se. I prefer to sing it out, but here I am. I'm going to have to figure out like how to keep people engaged, and is our conversation even going to be good? Um but honestly, through that process, I feel like it's given me this opportunity to really let my guard down and just be myself, which has been beautiful. Like I enjoy it so much because there is this other type of pressure that comes with being like an artist, a singer, that when I'm at the pod and it's just me and Dorka on a couch and some cameras, and we have an amazing team at Hi Hello Labs, and um there was a girl, Grisia, who helped kind of formulate some of the questions. So we had the support, but we got to just like unravel it on camera, and there was like this safety already created in the space. So I've actually felt more comfortable than I anticipated. I feel like I've really learned to enjoy this space where you can, the more you are comfortable with being yourself, the more I think it connects. And I don't have to be anybody that I don't want to be. I don't have to be any, like, with music. Okay, this is the best way to describe it. With music, there's a lot of boundaries. There's a lot of like, hey, this is the formula that works. And so you want to be on Christian music radio, it has to look and sound, and this is the persona you need to portray. Um and it's just like the political side in a way of how music works in general. But with the podcast, it's almost like there are no restrictions, there are no rules. I get to just be, and that feels really comforting.
Oh, I love that. And I feel like you both have something to say. Even what you're saying about it feeling safer as you spoke is exactly what the podcast is there for, to create that safe space for women. So it makes sense that the two women doing it feel safe and feel free to speak as well. And I love the like heading or like the catchphrase you said in one of the, or like I forget, it was like a quote and it was something about I'm seen, I am loved, because I'm his, or something like that. Was it?
Yes, I'm safe, I'm loved because I'm his.
I
That's
love
been
that.
like I love it too. I think those are important affirmations to speak over yourself.
I'm gonna need that on a t-shirt, by the way. I see merch on the
Ooh,
website too.
ooh, that's
Yeah,
not bad.
not bad.
Not a
People
bad
like
idea.
people like a t-shirt these days. So but let's dive into the music, because you have a long discography, and I really did not know where to start. And with these interviews, I normally pick out a couple songs across the career and then we talk about them. But as we established, you have a long career. So I decided to pick some of the most recent features at the time of filming this. And I say at the time of filming this because with Blanca, by tomorrow, there might be 2 features, a podcast, a project, you know, a film premiere. Like, so at the time of filming, this is what it is.
You're funny.
All right, let's jump in and start with This Won't Take My Praise featuring Taylor Hill. This is a beautiful war cry that shows that no matter the weapon, no matter what comes against you, your praise to God won't be taken away. I think that line, that's actually from the song, is beautiful. Could you please tell us the story of writing and producing this song?
Yes, this one's actually quite interesting because it's very rare that I don't initially write my songs. Everything that I've done up to date has been started by me. Basically, like I'm in the room and it's here's the idea and we start hashing it out. But This Won't Take My Praise was brought to me by Taylor. So he's a writer and he wrote on a few of my past songs like New Day. He wrote on Are You Ready with Me? There's been quite a few songs that I've done with Taylor, and he's an amazing, talented person. And so one day in the studio, I got to hear this demo, basically that he had written on his own after walking through a really challenging sickness in his life. And as soon as I heard this, it was stripped down. It was just him and a guitar. But I was like, oh my gosh, this is my life. Like I immediately connected to the song and felt like it spoke to me and knew that I wanted to cut it. And so that's very unique for me to do because usually that's not my process. And um, in having this opportunity, Taylor has also kind of branched into becoming an artist. Like he wants to come out. He's done some features like on Maverick City and has worked with Chandler Moore. And so he's kind of developing into an artist. And so I thought it would be beautiful to showcase him as the feature on the song since he had kind of put his heart and his tears into it. But that's the message, man. That's what I wanted to relay with this song was that no matter what we face, no matter what we go through, at the end of the day, that doesn't take your joy away. That doesn't take your praise away. Like those things remain and they're your choice to preserve and protect, to always give the glory and kind of the honor to God and what he's doing. Because if he did it before, he's going to do it again, right? So, in time, you're going to see the other side of that circumstance. And so just remaining faithful and like not letting it take your praise away. So, yeah, I love this song so much. It's one of, my top in my album, I think. This one's really good.
Your top Blanca song.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a very encouraging song. And to be honest, you make music for different phases of people's lives, like they're like soundtracks to your life, And this is definitely the song that, in the Disney Channel movie, I can see us on the train, it's raining outside, but you're trying to remind yourself he's not I'm giving you a music video idea.
Look at this are visuals and everything.
But I love it. And even going on to another song that I feel like is basically another soundtrack for another stage of your life. And a major bop, always going to get us up dancing. And of course, I love the sample of the Fred Hammond track. You already know what song it is. Yes. Are You Ready? And if you've just mentioned that Taylor was involved in the writing of that as well. But please tell us a little bit about this song.
Man, this is a nostalgic song for me because when I first got saved, my soundtrack for life was Fred Hammond, Kirk Franklin. I was super into the gospel scene. So being able to take a song like Let the Praise Begin, which is a classic, and flip it was so amazing. So I was like, I hope this man allows me to do this. Like we just created it in the studio, but I had this vision of kind of like a New Day part 2. I wanted to have this moment on the album that felt encouraging, that felt like man, be expectant for what this year has to offer, for what God is doing in your life. Like, just prepare your heart, get ready, because it's gonna be good. Some blessings are coming. And so we created this beat and took the sample in, and I teased it on social media. It was like we were in the studio. The song wasn't even done. I just had like the chorus, and I did the mistake of teasing the song, but mistake and actually a good thing. But people started responding like crazy to it, and they're like, "We need this now. We need this now." I got over like 500,000 likes on that one video, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need to finish this song. I don't even have it approved by Fred Hammond. Like, what if he says no?" So the pressure came in strong, but literally love, love, love how this song came out. I don't even know. Like, there's times where I feel like, how do I say this in a way that's like understandable? But like, I go into a writing session, and when I come out, I don't expect the song to speak to me as much as it does. And Are You Ready was definitely one of those tracks where I was like, my expectation was super low. I just wanted a fun song on the album. And then when it was done, it was like brought tears to my eyes, because I'm like, this is exactly what I needed and what I wanted.
I love that you mentioned that you teased it on socials and everyone was like, drop the track, Blanca, drop the track.
Oh, the pressure. I was like, it's not ready.
I mean, this is the next song I'm about to talk about is a similar song where you dropped like a teaser and everyone was like, the track better be on Spotify by the time I click the link. Like, where is the song? And I remember I was there. I was like on my account. I was on the SheHH account. I was on my burner. Like, Blanca, drop the song. Like, drop the song. But again, another banger, especially in my household, especially because it feels like a mix of like Latin and Afro vibes. And this is Worthy, of course. Please tell us
Yes.
all about this song.
This song was the first song that I dropped of any song for my upcoming album that's dropping this year. So Worthy set the tone. It was like, oh, Blanca's, she's ready. She's out. This is how she's initiating her album drop. But you nailed it. I feel like I'm a huge fan of Afrobeat music. I love artists like Anatolia and Limo Blaze, and there's so many artists that inspire me. And I'm like, I want this sound on my album, because it takes me back. Like, it feels like a fusion of reggaeton and Afrobeat and kind of like this mix. So it felt like I was able to bring some of my culture into the album, while at the same time having this simple message of just thanking God. Like, this album is basically, it's called Full Bloom. So I'm giving you a little insight, but Full Bloom is basically like what happens after you walk through a really hard season of loss. And like, I feel like tragedy and loss has been the basis of where I sing everything from. And then I finally walked into a season where that wasn't the fundamental thing writing my song. So I was like, I don't know what to write about. Like, what do I sing about? What are people going to want to connect to? Because I've kind of like grown from these really hard places. And I'm like, that's the picture that I got. It's like, this is after the rain, after the hardship, after everything. This is like that flower getting to bloom out and live to its full, whole self. So I wanted to give gratitude to the Lord for like bringing me into this season, and Worthy felt like it nailed the it nailed the whole album concept together. So that's it.
Do you know what the funny thing is? I have previously, I said to you off camera that I'm learning Spanish and I'm a huge fan of like all things the Spanish language, Latin culture. And like there was a period of time I had said, so I had some friends I'm learning Spanish with. I had said to them that reggaeton is not the same, but reggaeton reminds me of Afrobeat. And I had to like give disclaimers because people were like, no,
It's
how
not
dare
the same.
the same. I was like, I promise you, I didn't say the same. I just mean the vibe they give me is the same joy. I'm Nigerian, so I'm definitely an Afrobeat girl. But I just felt like there was something about the music that felt it transcended like the actual nations. It just felt
Yeah.
it was a feeling. And I was like, I said it. I was like, I'm never gonna say this anywhere publicly ever again.
Oh my gosh. Then maybe you might have to cut that part out of my talk. Your friends are gonna be like, nope, cut.
I don't know why you're telling this to people, Paula. It's not true. I'm like, no, it's just the vibe. It's just the vibe. But no, such a good song, and I love that it introduces your new season with this new project coming out, and we will definitely be listening. And by the time this comes out, it probably will be out. So, go listen to Full Bloom. Um,
Yeah.
yes. And you actually mentioned the next artist I'm going to talk about, because one thing about Blanca, she's going to be in a collab or collab with someone on her songs. Like, going to be cross promotion across the industry. But I love that you already mentioned New Day, because it is one of my favorite songs by you, and we were going to talk about it anyway. Mainly because Jacqueline is our SheHH sister. We had her on earlier seasons of the podcast, but there is something so powerful about this song that it's been a few years. It's off the album, The Heartbreak and the Healing, but it still rings true in every sense of the word. Like, this is a song to listen to wake up in the morning. But please tell us a little bit about New Day.
New Day. Okay. So I'm trying to go back to the feeling that I had when I recorded New Day in the studio for the first time. I know I've shared, they're all connected to my story. They're all connected to my life. So you have to see, like, I take you back to that moment that I was walking through. And so Heartbreak and the Healing was basically all formed off of my divorce and walking through that season. And you have a lot of the heartbreak on there. You hear a lot of, songs like Even at My Worst, and that just talk about the pain of that season. But then you have songs like this, like New Day, that it's like, it's me dusting, my shoulders off and saying, like, this isn't the end for me. Like, my story isn't over. And I still, like, have breath in my lungs and life to live. Like, so I'm ready to give it my all. And it's a new day. Like, wake up, Blanca, it's a new day. Like, let's do it. And so I remember recording it. I did it with Taylor Hill as well. We wrote it together. And I was in California, and I remember leaving the studio and having my headphones in, and I was walking from the studio to my hotel, and I just, like, had the biggest smile on my face. It felt like a movie. Like, I was skipping across the street and listening to it, and I just felt so happy with what we were able to accomplish in the studio that day, because it really just, it's such a beautiful thing as an artist when you can create a song that almost describe the emotion of what you're currently walking through. And that's what New Day did for me. It gave me, like, a newfound hope, but while also, like, expressing what I felt on the inside of the season that I was about to walk into.
And then how was it having Jacqueline come in and like put her spin and do her Jacqueline at
Oh
the
my
new version?
gosh, what can I even say? That girl, she's just from another planet. I don't know. God gave, like, God sprinkled vocals around for people, and then he just, like, dropped the whole thing on Jacqueline. Um, I was so happy. I had her in mind. I had followed kind of the journey a little bit of her career and hit her up. I DM'd her on social media and was like, hey, sis, I have this song and I would love for you to be a part of it. So when she said yes, I was super happy. I think she added, like, the missing piece to the song. She added her flavor and it just took it over the top. And so we met for the first time on set for the music video. And then that's where I was really like, oh, she's so, like, real and down to earth and wise, and she has so much depth to her. So I even felt more, like, confident with my decision to have her on the song. Like, it felt like it was meant to happen.
Oh, it was just a match made in heaven. I love the music video as well. Like, you're really good at the music videos, the content. I feel like everything that comes out is always like, hey God, I'm gonna give you my very best. Even down to I talked about with the podcast, like the production and everything there, it feels like you guys didn't just throw this together and just start like turn the camera on and start chatting. Like this was intentional and thought out. What's your experience and what's your kind of like relationship with content and filming, putting stuff on socials? Like how has that been and has it changed over the years?
Oh my gosh. Me and content have a love-hate relationship. It's not, I've been doing this for 20 years, so that lets you know I'm not a Gen Zer. I'm a millennial, and we're not the best at the social media platform. It's a learning curve. Um, so it's been hard, kind of just like finding that balance of like how to stay consistent and how to like engage with people on a regular basis while having your life and being a mom and wanting to be present at different things, not always wanting to post about it. And so it's definitely a love-hate relationship, but at the same time, I think there's so much good that comes out of it too. I feel like even things like this that normally you would have gone through 7 layers of people, now you connect on social media, you DM someone like I did Jacqueline, like you're just able to access kind of like people and people that really support your music in a different way than you could have years ago. So I I definitely think it's a full-time job. It could be so hard, right? Like putting out content consistently and trying to think of new creative things to do, but I definitely think it's worth it.
Oh, 100%. I think that we've been able to like get to know to an extent, get to know you from content and the fact that you're so consistent. Especially because like I said, you've been doing music for so long, but then since that previous album, it's been a few years. So how have you been able to keep us wanting more Blanca to keep in obviously there's been singles as well and the singles have been amazing, but like the fact that we've been able to sustain a relationship of wanting to hear from you is also because you've maintained putting content out or like having it feel like we see you enough, if that makes sense. That
Yeah.
was such a weird way of explaining it, but hopefully it made sense. Like
No, it makes sense.
I think seeing you out promoting a song or posting content or talking to the camera, whatever it may look like, shows that you care about the songs you're writing and they're not just things to you. And it makes us as an audience or us as fans hold on to the next thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like you explained that perfectly.
Oh, thank you. I was hoping because I'm like, it makes sense in my head, but I'm also not trying to sound crazy on the internet. But this has been really great, and we are getting towards the end of the interview. But I have a couple more questions for you. First of all, what is something in the 20 plus years? I feel like I've said 20 years too many times in this interview. I promise this is not me trying to age you, but you look like you're 25, so I don't know how the math makes any sense. Because
I
how could you?
appreciate that.
Did you start at 2? I don't know. But in the last number of years, you've done so many different things, but I want to know what's something you're excited to come in your career. You're excited to do to come in your career.
Oh man, I'm really, to be quite honest, right now, I'm excited to release this album that will probably be out when this comes out. But a lot of my heart and time went into making this, and I feel like it's some of my best work. So I feel really, really excited for that to come out. The podcast, I feel like I can't wait to see how this evolves and what doors it opens for meeting new people and connecting with a whole different audience that maybe doesn't just connect with me through my music. And I think if we're doing a dream session, I'm like, I want to find way like I would love to write a book. I would love to just find other unique ways to connect with people, and I'm super excited to explore what that looks like. Oh, and another big one is the Spanish stuff. Like I'm working on some Spanish music again, that is original, like originated in Spanish and coming out for the Spanish audience. So I feel like even that is just super exciting to explore those sounds from this season of my life.
Are you a big tour person? Like, obviously, I know your son is a little bit older now. He's like 11. Was that right?
Yeah, he's 11.
So he's not a baby, but I mean, I can imagine touring means that you have to go away for a little period of time.
Yeah,
It must be tough. But is that something you would like to do more of?
I would love to tour more. I really enjoy being on the road. I get, in all transparency, I get like a lot of anxiety from traveling. Just being away from my son, the unexpected of the road life. But once I'm out there and I'm in a rhythm, I feel like I thrive off of like getting to travel and meet new people and connect with people face to face. So it's something that I heavily enjoy, and I hope that this year brings more of that, and hopefully even, you know, going all the way to the UK.
Yes, please. Yes, please. You know, I'll be in the front row, like, wake up, there's a new day. And all the kids will be like, Gal, I doubt. All right. Well, our final question, and we love to ask the SheHH sisters these questions because it's all about the heart of what SheHH is. And that is about longevity and legacy. What is something when the time comes, you've gone to be with the Lord, what would you love people to say when they talk about Blanca?
I would say something that I would love for people to have as a takeaway with what I've given in my career is that I was an authentic trailblazer for women. That would be something that I would love to be remembered by, is creating spaces for women to feel seen and accepted, and where I can cultivate, you know, their faith and spiritual walk. So definitely that's something that I'm super passionate about, is connecting women together, creating spaces where they can flourish and grow, and I hope that that can be a part of my legacy.
That is amazing. And with the music, with the podcast, it looks like you're already on that way. So thank you so much, Blanca, for your time, for being on the podcast. And thank you to everyone watching and listening. Hi, guys. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the SheHH podcast. If you did, please leave a like rating, comment down below, and share this episode with a friend. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at SheHH Podcast.